Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I've got the Take Two Blues. And coming up today, we're going to tell you all about WWE's plans for the Undisputed Era going forward. Could they be splitting up? We'll tell you in just a minute, you impatient human beings. After that, I'm going to tell you all about the new tournament in AEW to crown the #1 contender to the world title for Full Gear.
Plus some awful news coming out of NXT about Tegan, Nox, and some huge matches planned for AEW Dynamite next week. This is the news.
Bloody hell, on the second take, mental. Let's kick things off by talking about this Undisputed Era story then. So, if you've been watching Adam Cole at all for the past couple of months, there's been a little bit of the babyface creeping in. It started kind of in the feud with Pat McAfee, where Pat McAfee was just such a great heel that you almost had to root for Adam Cole. But it continued in earnest with the loss to Finn Balor in the Show of Respect on the 9th of September. And last night as well, when Adam Cole had a match with Austin Theory on NXT. Won the match, then heavily endorsed Kyle O'Reilly after the match. Report from PW Insider here, talking about the plans for the Undisputed Era. And Adam Cole is indeed on track to become a top babyface on NXT. Also turning babyface as part of this is Kyle O'Reilly, who of course faces Finn Balor, for the NXT Championship at TakeOver this weekend. Not turning babyface, apparently, as part of this, Bobby Fish, Roderick Strong. So it sounds very much from this report like we're getting a split in the group that has dominated NXT for over 3 years now. It is a huge fundamental change to the entire complexion of that brand. There's a lot, I mean, this is really a podcast topic. You could probably get like 30 minutes out of this alone, but man, this is going to bring some big changes to NXT.
Yeah, seismic changes unquestionably to NXT. You could sense something like this was coming. Maybe it was going to be an entire babyface turn for the Undisputed Era, although I don't know how that would have really worked. A big babyface team who've cheated for the last 3 years to win all their titles. But yeah, I don't think you could. It would have worked having Kyle O'Reilly be a heel heading into this match with Finn Balor. I think I'm absolutely fine with both guys kind of being tweeners at best, I think it's fair to say. Adam Cole, yeah, like you say, Pat McAfee. I don't think many other people could have turned Adam Cole babyface that quickly than Pat McAfee being the biggest knobhead in wrestling. And that is said with all the compliments that he deserves, because I thought he was sensational as part of that feud. Very interesting this. I mean, if they're going to keep Undisputed Era in NXT, which seems to be they are going to, then they had to do something to change it up. I hope this doesn't rule out an Undisputed Era move to the main roster if that's what they decide to do in the future, although obviously that comes with all the caveats of Vince looking at Adam Cole and going, ugh. So, not that he should, he's a gorgeous man, and just because he's slightly smaller than the normal guy, okay. But yeah, I'm really interested to see where they go from here. Also, want to give a very quick mention, if you haven't watched it yet, what a build to O'Reilly versus Balor on NXT this week. A brilliant prime target segment on Kyle O'Reilly, and I adored, despite the criticism I've received online from a certain Michael Sidgwick, no surprise there though, I adored the sit-down segment with Shawn Michaels, who, to be fair, didn't say a lot, and just let Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly go back and forth, talk about their history, not just individually, but together. And it reminded me of like British boxing fans will know of like The Gloves Are Off, or some of the UFC sort of countdown builds. It gave it such a big fight feel, in my opinion. I cannot wait for TakeOver on Sunday. As a result of that, really enjoyed NXT and AEW, I should say, on the whole this week. I should also talk about some awful news coming out of NXT, though. Tegan Nox has undergone major surgery for her third ACL tear in 4 years, WWE has confirmed. Now, this was reported on that WWE injury report thing they do last week, although a lot of times that is kind of more, kayfabe. This is legitimate. Triple H confirmed it on an interview with him recently. It was tweeted out from the NXT account. They attributed it to the attack from Candice LeRae on last week's show. This is just dreadful news. I mean, they got something good out of it in terms of Johnny Gargano saying, well, she broke my TV, and now we've, destroyed her ACL. So you've got more heat on the Garganos as a result of it. But awful news. I mean, there's no good timing for this, but like I said, third ACL tear in 4 years. obviously, all of us here at WhatCulture wish her best wishes in her recovery. Terrible news, this, Andy.
Just garbage, awful. 25 years old, 3 ACL tears. First one, 2017. She was booked to win that year's Mae Young Classic, as was reported. She suffered a tear. She couldn't compete. She comes back. She competes in the 2018 Mae Young Classic. Gets hurt doing a dive against Rhea Ripley. I believe it was a dive to the outside. Comes back, becomes this just rising babyface in the NXT Women's Division. She's always been great as well. And then this happens again. It's a real shame for her, but she's battled through this twice before. Really serious injuries. She's come back from them twice before. You can't really deny her fight through all of this, and we wish her well and hope for a prompt and speedy recovery. It sucks. It's bad news. Terrible news. Let's pivot over to AEW a little bit. Talk about the 8-man tournament they have announced for a world title shot. This was confirmed during last night's episode of Dynamite. It's going to be 8 competitors. The first 3 announced: Kenny Omega, Rey Fenix, and Jungle Boy. They're all going to go at it, and we're going to have a winner, and the winner's going to face Jon Moxley or Lance Archer at Full Gear, which goes down on the 7th of November. Of course, Lance Archer and Jon Moxley are wrestling for the title on the 14th of October, which is the anniversary special of Dynamite. Hangman Page had a particularly good reaction to the announcement that Kenny was in the tournament, kind of just getting all in a little huff and walking out of the announcement.
I think I could do it. You just announce the 3 names again for me, whenever you're ready.
The competitors for the World Title Tournament are Jungle Boy, Rey Fenix, and Kenny Omega.
You what? I mean, it was slightly less dramatic than that, but... Oh, God. I'm in trouble. That's gone everywhere.
Yeah, you've ruined your MacBook, brother. Boss has paid a lot of money.
I really like these 3. Obviously, just to get back to it, I really like these 3 names. I should point out, I did question why Kenny Omega was in this. It's obvious why he's in this, because he's going to win it and he's going to face Jon Moxley at Full Gear. That's my fantasy booking at the very least. And yes, people will say, oh, he's not had singles matches in ages, but it's Kenny Omega. Look at his record. And if you're wondering, well, why isn't Hangman Page in there? Andy said 8-man and he's named 3 names. So... we're going to get there. It's really exciting, and it's going to be... I mean, if those are the first 3 names, just imagine the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 we're going to get in there, or 4 along with Hangman Page, inevitably, because, let's be honest, it's probably going to be Page versus Omega in the finals of that or something. Also, coming off the back of last night's Dynamite, we've got some huge matches booked for next week's show, which is, of course, the Chris Jericho 30th anniversary celebration. Mr. Brody Lee, I should say, will be defending his TNT Championship against Cody in a dog collar match. A really just blood-pumping segment around this. Cody came out, got interviewed, talked about getting beaten in 3 minutes by Brody and going off and doing that TV show that he was doing. And he seemed to suggest he was not accepting the dog collar match, but then Swerve, he came back and he screamed. Just go and watch it, because I can't do it justice. He screamed down the camera lens that he would accept the dog collar match. Out came Brody Lee. Massive brawl involving just everyone in AEW, basically. Constantly Brody Lee and Cody having to be pulled apart. And that's not the only match announced for next week. As I said, it's the 30th anniversary celebrations for Chris Jericho, and he's going to be busy. He's not only celebrating, he's got a match alongside Jake Hager against the Chaos Project, that being Serpentico and Luther. They brawled during and following Jericho's excellent match, where I thought he really made Isaiah Cassidy look sensational last night. Also, we should mention, and we haven't yet, Darby Allin versus Ricky Starks to start last night's show. Also, next week, we've got Brian Cage versus Will Hobbs for the FTW Championship. A stellar week of television next week on Dynamite, Andy.
It's looking stacked. It's looking loaded. Other positive words you can throw at it. Yeah, I mean, the dog collar match is going to rule. Cody's so good at these old school stipulations and making them feel really gutsy and heated and so forth. And a great segment last night as well. Looking forward to seeing what comes of all of this. And another thing I'm looking forward to is the AEW video game. Hey, going to run through this story real quickly because there's not a whole lot on it. Basically, the company has filed a bunch of trademark applications for terms relating to this. On the 10th of September, they filed for All Elite Wrestling Elite General Manager. and Elite GM, and then on the 15th of September they filed for AEW Elite GM. This is for downloadable software, downloadable computer game software, blah 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 blah, a bunch of weird stuff jargon there with the filing, but it's game stuff is the stuff you need to know. So it looks like they're maybe going for like a little EWR gimmick here, brother, a little management game.
Yes, very exciting. I can't wait to play this. My sources, by the way, of course, who I can never reveal because I definitely haven't just made it up on the spot, have told me that the game's actually going to be called Sweet TK the Game. So looking forward to that one. Let's move on to your Twitter questions very quickly before we get any lawsuits. At WhatCulture WWE, if you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Matt Ryan, aka Aussie Dead, who says,
Legend.
in the 30 years of Jericho's career, what are some of your favourite memories or favourite incarnation? Mine include List of Jericho, Le Champion, and Painmaker.
Yeah, oh yeah, I mean, those, they've only happened in like the past 3 or 4 years, but that's probably my 3 favourite versions of Jericho, honestly. They're all just all so great. But I really love big banter version of Chris Jericho in WCW when Eric Bischoff basically said, hey man, have 10 minutes of Nitro every week and do whatever the hell you want. And he got so over, like accidentally, that they kind of had no choice to run him at Goldberg, but Goldberg, he say no. So many classic moments coming out of that, like the armbar segment, the man of 1,000 freeholds. Just classic stuff. Jericho's the king of reinvention.
Yeah, I have to say, I did a complete 180 on Jericho. I hated him growing up, which is probably mean he did his job right, but List of Jericho really made me realise, God, this guy's amazing. And then subsequently you go back and you look at how good he was, for example, in that feud with Shawn Michaels back in like 2008, and then Le Champion. I mean, I'll never be able to drink Prosecco, champagne, or anything like that ever again without annoying my friends and family. But let us know your favourites in the comment section. Christian, I always butcher his surname, Buttigieg? Christian writes, in regards to the 4 horsemen possibly in AEW, what do you think of FTR, MJF, and Britt Baker in the stable called the 4 Pillars, representing the pillars of the men's, the women's, and the tag divisions?
That's really good stuff. It's really good stuff. Obviously, 4 Pillars, iconic reference to All Japan's legendary 4 Pillars as well. Yeah, I like it a lot. I think that would be a very fitting group with Tully as the manager in particular. I still kind of love the idea of Cody being involved in this somehow. Tully and Arn back together as kind of managers of a group. I think that'd be incredible stuff. But yeah, I think you're on the money there. Baker's a great shout for it, but if they have a way to bring Jamie Hayter back, that would be great as well.
The final question today comes from Mark Solid, who says, hey guys, thoughts on WWE bringing in indie tag teams for the next Dusty tournament? They did it with the Cruiserweight and Mae Young Classics. This can give them a chance to show their skills and could be the start of the tag team division rebuild to not be a joke.
Our little hangout call cut out about halfway through that question, so I will need a repeat, brother.
Oh, no problem. Bringing in indie tag teams for the Dusty tournament like they did with the Cruiserweight and Mae Young Classics to show their skills and basically rebuild a crap tag team division in WWE.
Yeah, I think it's a good shout. I mean, the problems arise with travelling issues at the moment and so forth and spreading various things, but it sounds like Florida doesn't give a crap about any of that. They've reopened bars and restaurants. Boom! Not hating on Florida. I've got family there. I've been a dozen times. I love it. But...
and we love Flo Rida here at WhatCulture. So.
Of course. Big Flo Rida and Pitbull fans as well. He's from Miami, and so is DJ Khaled. I've gone totally off the goddamn rails. Yes, I do think it's a good idea. I have to admit, I'm a little bit out of touch with the indies at the moment, man. I haven't been keeping up with my GCWs and my Beyonds and my Black Label Pros and stuff, so I couldn't pinpoint exact tag teams that I'd love to see in the Mae Young Classic, Jesus, in the Dusty Classic, but I think it's a good shout, yes.
I mean, grizzled young veterans should win everything, and Zach Gibson should be given 10 minutes on the microphone every single week, in my opinion, but there you go. Let's move on to today's and finally, off the back of yesterday. Feels like a week, considering the way things are going right now. Malcolm Bivens yesterday tweeted that he should be drafted onto other shows, and wrestlers should be allowed to do that. He was wanting to be drafted to Blackish for 2 seasons. So I asked you some suggestions on who you'd like to see in TV shows, wrestler-wise. Christopher Giles yesterday wrote, Randy Orton on Law & Order SVU, a smug pervert smart enough to defend himself in court and almost get away with it. Really enjoyed that one. We had Daniel Murphy on Twitter saying, I think Eddie Kingston would make a great guest on Shameless, and he can beat the crap out of Frank Frank Gallagher after selling him drugs. I mean, Eddie Kingston on Shameless is a wonderful fit, but my favourite has to be Mark Smith. It says, surely the best TV show for WWE talent would be Otis and Mandy Rose on Don't Tell the Bride.
Fair play.
Make that happen. Oh my God, that'd be so good. Right, let us know your thoughts on that and all today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Myself and the Dudley Boys reviewing NXT and AEW Dynamite a little bit later on. Plus, you can let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Watch there, follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Happy Birthday Hector Guerrero, a.k.a. The Gobbledygooker.
Yes.
Great. Sorry, Hector.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
Legend. Follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCultureWWE. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon. So wet.